you at, Steve? Oh, wrong spot, bro. Quit it. Oh, how are y'all? Yeah, I'm a little red, a little tired. I've been cutting grass, doing yard work, messing with bees. So, what you been up to, Steve? Why you got on a sweatshirt?
It's still not that warm up here. It's a thin hoodie kind of thing. This is like just t-shirt material. It's just a
I
long
hear
sleeve
ya.
layer.
I
But
hear ya. Well,
yeah,
you,
no,
you
it's been wet and chilly. It actually is sunny today. I think it maybe got up to high 60s, but we're not warm by any means yet. So
high 60s.
yeah,
Pathetic.
well,
Pathetic.
my shop right now is about 66 degrees. That and I don't have AC out here.
Yeah, we hit 87 today, so we almost in the 90s. About another week or two, we'll be steady in the 90s. But yeah, it's 70 tonight. It's supposed to cool down to 63 though, so that'll feel good. Uh, that'll be nice. It is not. I promise you, it is not. It is not cool out there right now. But but yeah, everything is green. I was cutting grass today. I gotta go pick some blackberries sometime this week because there are blackberries everywhere. So we'll be grabbing some of those. But I didn't hit all of them with a lawnmower. I did hit a bunch of them. So let's see who all has showed up tonight. Brandon, Jeff, Vince, Steven. Hello, Mark. Mr. Jim Pitts, Midnight Sunworks, Pop Pop. How are you, Scott? Chuck, Victor, Scott again. Pop Pop, Vince, Old Guy Designs, Soggy, Southwest Louisiana. Now they got some humidity over there.
Hmm.
Uh, Hello from Nebraska, Mr. Scott Johnson. How are you? Uh, what's up, Brian? Brian's in the house. I'll tell you, I miss Brian when he's not here because he has those little remarks that he makes from time to time. Uh, so excited to be back after missing last year. What? He must be talking about something else because I know Brian's been here this year. Let's
Maybe it
see.
just felt like a year.
Yeah. Well, Brian, obviously, I was not fixing my hair. It's a mess. I've been in a bee suit. I've been cutting grass. I did have to go to a funeral today. I had a fellow that I was really close to growing up. One of my better friends. He had a brother that was in a vehicle accident, and so that was not something I wanted to do today, but had to go there, see the family, and all that. So it's been one of those days.
Hmm.
I don't really do funerals. I'll be honest with you. Uh, the last one I went to was my dad's, and I just not the highlight of my week.
Yeah,
It's the
no,
the
they're
death
they're
doesn't bother me. It's the living.
yeah, yeah, that can be tough. Um, be a tough thing to do, and yeah, it's always, I don't know. It depends on how well you know people and such. But glad you
Yeah.
made it through the week.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, I'm really, really, really close with the family and have been for my entire life. So it was one of those that it's almost like it was family. So I had
Right,
to go. I
right.
had to go.
Yeah.
It's not one of those where where you want to miss. Brian said hashtag Steve needs a mini split. We've been saying that, guys, but I don't. I think Steve's against. I think he's anti climate control or something. Uh, he keeps saying he's going to get it done before the summer gets here because he claims it gets hot up there. But so far, I'm not seeing it.
Hey, we had a mild winter. Maybe I'm just gambling on a mild summer.
Yeah, you probably won't get lucky on that one. What's up, Perman, Lower Alabama? I hear you. That's what we call LA. Uh, yeah, Mike, I got like 5 stings, and if you can look, like my hand, it's hard to tell with the camera, but like this part of it, it's getting puffy. They used to didn't bother me as bad, but here a while back we were climbing under a house getting some bees out, and I got stung like almost 20 times. And since then, now when I get popped, I get a little swelling, especially in the bony areas, like where there's not a lot of meat to absorb the venom. It gets heat in it and it swells. So hopefully it'll go away. It usually goes away within a few hours. Minnesota. Brian said they count days below zero and days above 100 degrees. So
Yep, we get them both.
well, I had some visitors this weekend, followers of the channel and viewers, and got to meet those folks. I got some photos I'm going to share later. I haven't done it yet. I've been procrastinating. I've been busy. But Mr. Bill Downer and Sharon Braggs, they got to visit with me. Was it Friday night at the event that they had downtown? Got to hang out with them for a little while. They got him a hot hamburger. Mr. Bill did. And I tried getting him to eat some livers. He asked me, "Did you ever do it?" And I told him I couldn't get you to do it. You were too big to force feed you. So, but he went with me up to Jack's. I think me and you went into the Jack's diner that one day because you wouldn't order the livers.
Yeah. And I just want to say, even the waitress was disgusted by serving the livers to you. So I kind of feel like there was maybe one person that said, "Oh yeah, maybe they're good." Everybody else is like, "Ugh." So I'm just saying, the locals down there, they don't even like them.
Well, not all of them. There are some. Now, like I said, it's an acquired taste for some folks. Let me see if I can find these pictures. I'll try to transfer them over.
Yeah.
But all in all, livers are good. I see. Where did they go? Oh, Brandy sent them to me because Brandy took them. But yeah, but we took to some photos right outside the dinner bell, right there. Like I said, you know where I'm referencing now when I say we took a picture at a dinner bell. But it was a good experience. They were coming from New Mexico, headed up to West Virginia. They came, hung out with me a little while in town, and they also, I know they went by Maymay's shop because she came back with some stuff that Maymay sells that I made, wanting it signed and all that. So it was interesting. I like meeting folks, that for some reason are entertained, amused, or otherwise intrigued to watch the videos. And it was cool. Good folks. I actually went by today where they were staying in the campground and was gonna give them a couple of challenge coins because I had thought I had them in the truck. But if you remember when we went to Maymay's, I took them out of the truck and put them in the trailer, and then I never put them back in the truck. So I had to come home to get those. And me and Brandy rode down there to specifically to take them a challenge coin to the campground where they were staying. Didn't find them, but I did find a guy that had backed off in a ditch and got stuck. And so I wound up saving him a record bill and pulling him out because, I rode by in my old sleeper 4-wheel drive that nobody thinks is 4-wheel drive. And he's like, "Man, if you think you can pull me out," I'm like, "All right, I can get part of it out anyway. Might not get all of it, but I'll get part of it out." So, but anyway, let me show you this picture here. So there we are right there at the dinner bell, your favorite cafe. And so, like I said, that was a cool little visit. Enjoyed that. And like I said, I like meeting folks that view the channel. Even met one today at the funeral, believe it or not. That was a follower from Birmingham. He just happened to be friends of the family, and he recognized me. So, but anyway, that's about it. That's all I've had going on this weekend. Nothing special. I did finish my table. That it just looks so much better. I don't have hoses and cables and wires and stuff just randomly tossed about. And I got a little floor space back. So it's a good week of productivity with this thing goes. But I'm a little tired. I'm gonna be honest with you because that was a engineer it as you go project. You know how that works, where you just you know what you kind of want, but you don't know if it's gonna work. So yeah, I had to I basically built the table and then just tried to figure out where can I put things and still be able to use them, and how can I hide the wires, how can I hide the dust collection, all that. And I even found that by eliminating a couple of blast gates, I'm getting better performance out of my dust collection because it's not starving it for air as much. So I've got it now to where I think I had like 5 blast gates before where I cut everything off but one device. And I've learned now that if I leave 2 of them running, it seems to actually do a little bit better job.
Yeah.
So that was a learning experience for me, but it's still a lot better. It would help if I didn't have to like pull it up, then over, and then down. But I got to do what I got to do for now.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that one's run off of the wind. I don't use the Shopsmith with that one. The Shopsmith is currently only being used for the CNC, but I'm actually considering swapping it over to where it does both because it's so much quieter and it does a really good job. But the only difference is the wind discharges outside, so I don't have to fool with the chips, and Shopsmith doesn't. So I may just leave the CNC on it, but we'll see. So somebody said my table looked good.
Well, from 10 feet away.
Hey, that's a good man. That's look. Dave, but one thing make that table look better, and that's if I was over there sitting on it.
Yeah, present a little scale, I guess. No, it does look good. And the important thing is that you've got to set up the way it works well for you. And that's, like you say, you kind of engineer it as you're going through it. Some people call it following their nose, as they kind of, okay, I think if I put it here, move these things around and build a shelf. So it's a great exercise to do. I mean, if it was me, I'd build it a little bit different based on the things I do often or the tools I use most, but you've built it for your shop and gained some space.
Perimeter alert, driveway.
So yeah, cool stuff. For me, I had to go back to work this week after a nice almost
Perimeter
2-week
alert,
vacation.
delivery box.
So I was getting caught up on that. And trying to get the shop. I had packed both things for the airplane event. Also brought down some laser stuff, and then when I unpacked, kind of just dumped it all in here. So there's always that kind of reorganization before getting going. But been trying to dabble in a couple things, a couple of projects. Matter of fact, I'll give a little sneak preview. I'm going to hopefully finish this up in the next day or so, but playing around with a graduation picture frame design here with some raised lettering and such. So been messing around with that a little bit. Plan to do a video on it showing kind of making it in both Lightburn and XCS for people. And so Mother's Day is coming up. What next weekend?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of become our tradition that for Carla, for Mother's Day, she wants plants, and not indoor, not flowers that are dead or cut off. She wants, we use that as a good excuse to go add to the garden, add to the yard, and such. So we've been doing a little shopping, although it's been a little chilly up here. But sometime this week we'll probably end up and do the Mother's Day shopping and go get her some new plants for the yard and such. So yeah, just getting caught up on family time, but getting back into the swing of things with some shop time as well.
Yeah, well, the summertime can be a little rough around here because that grass grows really fast. So that's why, like I said, I do that. Had to do that today. But no, Brian, everybody, it's not another package being delivered. That was my daughter coming in from work. But I have sensors that let me know when people turn off the road and all that. Steve got to see all the security protocol we have, so it's just to let me know somebody's coming, just in case I need to go out and greet them or whatever. But want to say back, Wild Willow says hello, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but she does some laser stuff. Made a pretty good little It was almost like a Clactical design the other day with the spacers for Chuck and everything that were laser cut. Like she kind of goes the same way that I do with my stuff is if you have the machine that is made to work on, then you can use that machine to make the kit. It's pretty cool. The base plate design looks remarkably familiar. I myself am guilty of doing that with my R1s and RA2s and all the rotaries and chucks. And it was a very effective way of doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
y'all can go check out our channel over there. She like I said, she's relatively new. I say relatively new because I let's just say the channel wasn't brought to my attention until recently. I don't know if she's still in here, how long she's been doing it, but I just recently run across it a while back.
Yeah, she's got some good content out there, and I saw the rotary jig template and kind of a nice minimalist design for if you don't have an enclosure, want to get some. I mean, you could put them in an enclosure as well, but these work pretty well. They fit the atom stack, and then you could connect that to the base plate as well. So yeah, she's creating some fun content. So definitely go check that out. I think she's got a goal for this year to try to hit 10K by the end of the year. So I think both Clack and I have been watching her stuff. So
well, it's like I said, laser stuff. You gotta keep your ear to the ground. Can't have anybody getting, you know, getting ideas and stuff. It's like I said, most of my YouTube watching is either on that TV over by the CNC, like while I'm working, or on my earbuds while I'm doing other stuff. But yeah, I thought it was just a couple of months, but now, there's always for enclosures. There's no enclosure like EnclosureZilla. Oh, and I got to have that job delivered tomorrow. So that's my event planner. Man, she keeps me busy. Like I dropped one off, and she's like, "Hey, I need this one too." So it's like here lately, it's been about 3 or 4 months. But the cool thing about it is she paints her own stuff. So I just literally cut it out and sell it to her. I don't have to paint it. That's awesome.
Perimeter alert.
Good stuff.
Delivery box.
Oh, somebody's leaving. Who's leaving now? But yeah.
they're all
Do you
running
have
away from you.
Is Kevin asking for a link
Yeah, I'll drop it in.
to hers? Maybe.
I'll drop it.
Miss Sharon, if you go to my do you have plans for the 8-year enclosure? I have a couple of different designs for my enclosures, which I have it under good authority. There was a guy down here the other day that stopped in for a visit and was measuring all my enclosures. So I'm pretty sure Steve is working on a design, and he'll probably do a lot better job with the schematics than I did. But I do have a couple of rough draft drawings on my website. If you go to the shop tab, they're in the shop tab, which is kind of misleading because you're not buying them, but it's just basically a PDF download. It gives you the basic dimensions, but always check and make sure it's going to work for your machine. My second enclosure over here, where I have the Atom Stack 70, it's a lot bigger. That's the one that Steve was measuring the other day, so I figure that his next enclosure is probably going to look a lot like it. And I know my buddy over at Milk Money Mini Farms, Bill, the guy I shared the video, and I actually got a link. By the way, if you're here, there's a link in the description on my video on YouTube to my buddy Bill's channel. He was doing it.
Perimeter alert. Driveway.
Okay, it's Sunday. That may be Brandy walking the garbage down. But he started doing animals and all that, and then the animals wound up giving him some kind of pigeon problems. So he got rid of those, and he's like, okay, I really want to do woodworking as well. So he's been doing lasering, and he's doing pretty good, surprisingly well. But he has a clone that he built of my enclosure and did a really good job. So click that link, go over to his video, and I wanted to call me and be like, hey, what did you do? So
Perimeter alert. Delivery box.
You got a parade going on out there?
It's Brandy taking the garbage down, I bet you. I guarantee you it is. She'll be walking up she'll be walking up the door here in just a minute because that's what happens. She walks it down and then walks back. But I'm not going to complain because you know who's not walking the garbage down? This guy. But you go click on that link, go to his video, and just tell him it's a clack attack. Everybody, please do it, please. I want to blow his inbox. See, told you, the woman with the trash. Hey, watch this. Hey. Oh, she just kept walking. She ain't stopped for nothing. I told you that's who it was.
So yeah, I've got the rough drawings done for building an enclosure that is big enough for the A70 Pro, plus some wiggle room. And so I need to pick up the plywood, and I'm gonna try to put together a video. I'm gonna try to resist using all my bigger tools. I'll try to only use, like maybe your typical, like a battery jigsaw and drill and things like that as much as I can, just to try to encourage people to be able to put one of these together without feeling like you have to have a lot of tools or a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And then it can be modified from there. But going to try to get the basics together. It'll be heavily influenced on Clack's design there, not necessarily Enclosurezilla, but the smaller one and such. And hopefully it helps out. Hopefully helps out some people. It'll be useful for me on some of these larger ones that hasn't fit in, to be able to swap them in and out of there when doing some of this testing as well. So not sure on the timeline of that because I have a couple things going on yet this week, but I'm hoping to get that stuff, because I know if I don't prep and do the video recording when I get it, I'll get halfway into it and just rush to get it done, and then I'll miss out on things. But yeah, it'll be coming. It'll be coming hopefully before the end of the month, because I need it myself.
Yeah. Brian said if you need help building something, learn from Klein and show up at Clack Shack. Yeah, I've actually built 2 enclosures for Klein. He's got a scaled down version of Enclosurezilla that he's got his LM3 in. It doesn't have the drop deck. And then the one that my buddy Bill built is for the S30 Ultra that I had. So it's a 500 by 500 machine. And he built his. Now, the only thing that Bill didn't do is he wasn't confident in his routering and his jigsaw skills. So he brought the lid already made over here, and we went into VCarve because I'd already had the file for where I put my window in, and we just modified the file slightly so that we could cut the window in his door with the CNC so that it would be seamless and look really nice. But now he's asking me about building the lift because he's wanting to put a lift in his like I got in mine so that he can raise and lower the bed. So we're probably going to try to design a lift bed add-on so that he can have the ability to raise and lower the bed. But we're going to see.
So yeah, so Wild Will is getting the 70 Max that both you and I said, whoa, that's too big. So
well, maybe
I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing that because it looks like a beast. And yeah, that idea about cutting out an enclosure for a smaller laser, that'd be pretty cool. So look forward to seeing that one.
That is where I'm planning on cutting enclosures over there.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the design because it's the same as this one. I've just got to sit down and take the time to take the measurements from this enclosure, from the lid and all, and build the file for it. But that's the way I want to start building my enclosures because I have that method. Now, like you said, not everybody does. And the only piece of information, like most of the pieces from my enclosure are square, with the exception of this slope for the door up here in the front. And if anybody's building one, my advice is take you 2 pieces of material that are the right size to be able to cut this slope into, clamp them together when you measure and cut the one. That way that they're exactly the same. That was the only thing that if you're using a skill saw and you cut, on this side of the line or that side of the line, or if you get mixed up, you could inadvertently make them different sizes. And then once you cut the sides, then just measure them and cut the square pieces to go around them. That was the simplest manner of construction because the size is the only real tricky part. Once you do that, everything else is fairly easy. So, but yeah, I want to create a CNC file for the 4-footers for the guys that have them.
So yeah, I mean, the interesting thing on my original enclosure for the xTool D1 is, I mean, I was building that for myself, and I didn't record anything until I was done, and then I took some photos and then made a video. I was like, okay, here was the thought process, and here are the things I did to try to inspire other people. Which then, came all the requests like, oh, do you have plans and cut files and such? So I had actually originally designed it to cut on my CNC. I have it, but then I had to kind of rethink, okay, is all this doable without it? And, for the most part, is the hardest part on there would be cutting the vents, which again, I reminded people, a jigsaw, a drill, you can cut these out. And also you could just use a Forstner bit and bigger holes. They just need to have a certain amount of volume through it. But yeah, we have the tools. Not everybody has the tools. And so I'm always trying to think, okay, yes, you could do it this way, but let's make sure without that, you can do it another way.
Oh yeah. Well, another buddy of mine wanted an enclosure, but he wanted to take it inside his house and put it in an extra room that they had. So he wanted something light and portable. We wound up framing him one up with 2x2s, and then just used this 1/4-inch Luan as a skin, just as a protective barrier. And then took and built it. And seriously, the thing weighed like 20 pounds, the whole enclosure. And it was, I forgot which machine he's got in that. Oh, the TS2, the 2 trees TS2 is what machine he was running. So Brian wants to know if I made you take the garbage down while you were here. But no, Brian, I did not. He ate really well and had pretty much everything. I think he had everything he needed. Now, I will admit the bathroom in the camper was not designed for someone of his stature, but he made it work. So, oh, by the way, your home's no longer here. So,
well, I'll let you know when it's time to bring it back.
yeah,
No, it was really nice having that there. Small bathroom and all.
yeah, yeah. The 70 max enclosure, that would be an undertaking. That's gonna be a pretty big boy there. Almost to the point where you're gonna need like some hood struts or something to put on the lid, because that's gonna be pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what you build it out of and how, that's almost as big as putting an enclosure on my Onefinity. So
yeah. Now, Steve, there ain't gonna be any chicken livers in the garbage around here. Like Steve pointed out earlier, not everybody here eats them, and Brandy's on that list. I can't honestly say I don't think she's ever prepared them either. It probably isn't. So
going by my just real rough surveying, I think maybe 1 in 5 at most eat them down there. So
only the true rednecks.
I didn't want to miss this one. Question was the cable that connects from the Atom stack to the computer, is that a photocopier cable? Looking for a replacement. Depending on how old, some of the newer models are coming out with USB-C, but most of them are your typical USB-A to B cables. And so, I mean, you can find those all over Amazon, Walmart, maybe even, most office supply stores will have them. They're just a typical USB cable. Now, if you're going to go longer than about 10 to 15 feet, you're probably going to want to use a powered USB hub to drive that rather than just straight cable. But yeah, they're pretty typical to find. Now, the newer ones are coming more with USB-C connectors on them, and they're again, the typical cable that comes with your phone and such. But yeah, it shouldn't be too hard to find one.
Yeah, if you have an old printer cable that you used from years ago, it would more than likely work. Because I don't think they make like a charge only in that particular USB configuration. I know with some of the newer machines, the thing you got to watch for nowadays is if you stop at, let's say, a gas station or somewhere and you pick up a USB-C cable, you have to make sure that it's a full USB cable and not a charge only, because these gas station and some of the, even like Walmart and Dollar General, places like that, they'll call it a USB-C cable, but it's a charge only cable. And if you hook it to one of these lasers, it's not going to communicate with it. It'll make you think it works because it plugs in, but it's not actually going to communicate across that cable. Somehow I had a charging only cable, probably from a microphone or something, got put in my drawer over here, and I tried to use it the other day, and it took me a minute to realize. So they should really mark those charging only so that you would know. But
Yeah, it'd be nice if there's an easier way to tell. I've had a few of those where you're trying to troubleshoot something, and you have to like, all right, I will try something else. But
oh, yeah, there she
um,
is, guys. Don't be talking about her. But yeah, Brandy, they were concerned that folks were bringing pitchforks and shovels, I guess, like raiding the hill of Frankenstein or whatever earlier, when you were walking the trash down. But yeah, there she is. But she doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't do a whole lot of cooking livers.
so there's a question from Lakeside Streams asking, what honeycomb would you use for the A70 Max?
Whew.
That is a good question. Because you're going to be looking for what, about 30, I think it's 33 and a half inches wide
Yeah,
is the
like
working
850
area.
by 850.
Yeah. You might have to go. The one place I know that'll make custom ones, CloudRay offers a custom manufacturing of them. But the issue getting into that is if you get one that big, shipping is going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to look at some of these. Both David and I have like there was the Nivel honeycomb, the extended honeycomb, where it's like 400 by 800. You could try a couple of those, and of course you're going to have that ridge in the middle, but hopefully you can work around that. Otherwise, going to need to do some shopping to find at least I would say an 800 by 800 honeycomb, but it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. After seeing what it does, if you go too slow, what it does to a honeycomb, it might not be a bad idea to try to find some type of blade system for it, because
Well,
this is a calm grow honeycomb over here, and at 3 millimeters a second, 2 millimeters a second, it was knocking chunks out of it. So
so my only comment on that is I think part of your problem there was the buildup was accentuating the heat when it hits there. I think if you had a clean
uh,
honeycomb, it would have been less likely to cut as much.
yeah, but I mean, I got a clean area back there. I could test the theory in, but I don't think that was all there was to it, because it took a nice little chunk out of it. And I will not be doing those speeds. The only reason I did that speed was I was trying to cut that block of acrylic we got, just like that thick, that nothing
Yeah,
can cut except for a jigsaw or a bandsaw. I
yeah.
was trying to cut it, and I had set the half the circle to go through it and half of it to come out, and that way I could see how deep it cut through it. And when it came out the other side, it started knocking chunks off that thing. So I won't be going that slow
I
with it no more.
Now going back to this question, I did just do a quick search, and I see that Sculpt Fun does have a 850 by 850 honeycomb bed. Now I'm not 100% sure what it's made out of. I'm guessing it might be aluminum because it's only $229, and right now there's a $30 coupon, and that is on Prime with Amazon, so there's no shipping on that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I can't speak to its quality or anything as far as it's going to sag and whatnot. I would imagine that big, you're going to want to maybe add in some supports there in the middle, but
I can't
there are
believe you
some out
called my
there.
honeycomb. My honeycomb is relatively clean.
Hey, okay. Just
Hey,
looking at
that
that
one's got
photo,
some.
she was a little dark.
That one's got some miles on it, man. I have cleaned it not long ago, but I do use them a lot. So I mean, they get dirty. I need to get my pressure washer a hold to it, but I'm afraid it'll bend the fins, bend the metal. So
Um, yeah, you don't. I've got an electric pressure washer that's kind of like high pressure garden hose, I guess is what you would call it. It's just enough pressure to clean off honeycombs without really doing a lot of damage. So yeah, I'll put this link in there to this Sculpt Fun one if people want to take a look at it. So they are out there. That's probably the cheaper way if you've got Prime to get it without, paying out the nose for shipping. But
Well,
yeah,
let's see. Sam is saying that Atom Stack has an 850 by 850. I hadn't really looked, but you would think if they sell the machine, they would make one eventually.
yeah, I would imagine they have. So
But yeah. But now this Comgrow Honeycomb, this 500 by 500 Honeycomb. I have had this thing. This was like one of the first reviews I ever did here in the shack. So that thing's been in operation for 2.5 years or so. 2 years, at least 2 years. And
yeah,
and there's no telling how many ink bandits and all that's been cut on this thing. So it probably does need a good deep pressure washing and cleaning. Yeah, I use I use oven cleaner. I've used about everything you can think of, and it's hard to get them perfectly clean. I may try my little pressure washer because I've got multiple tips for it. I can just kind of move in as a little bit at a time.
I think the trick there is, get a good degreaser type thing, Dawn Power Wash, LA Awesome, something like that. Soak it down and let it sit for a bit, and then rinse her off. That always works. When you get too much in a hurry, that's where you end up doing more scrubbing and such. But
well, like I said, it usually takes me about a can of the oven cleaner to really get them clean. So I guess I need to do it, making fun of me, calling me
well,
out.
and
Now that was a very zoomed in picture too, by the way.
wasn't so much the buildup; it was the color of it. It just looked like it has very, very well coated.
Oh, it is.
But,
It's very well used, no doubt.
But that's the other thing is the longer you go in between cleanings, the more that builds up, and the harder it is to get off there. So, but all part of the process. So,
all right, questions, comments, concerns. Don't forget about the map. Yeah, I've got some of that purple power stuff that I use for my pressure washer that like cleans my tractor engine. So I mean, I think I'm gonna try using some of that next time with the pressure washer.
Tim Hensley's asking, would you raise the honeycomb on the S1 from the bottom, or would you raise the wood on top of the honeycomb to get rid of the burning underneath the board? So it depends on what you're getting underneath the board. First off, I'd make sure my honeycomb is clean, like you were first talking. The more buildup you have on there, it gets revaporized, and that adds to the staining. But really, the trick with not getting any burning underneath the board is to elevate it, make sure it's as small of touch points as possible. And that's where some people like the knife blade type beds, where they have, the honeycomb is nice for small parts, they don't fall through, but it has a lot more touch points, even though it's really thin. So those shark tooth or the blade ones will have maybe fewer touch points on them. But if you can raise it up off there as well, that is your best. It doesn't take much gap at all, 1/4 inch, to really allow the vaporized material to pass through and then get hopefully sucked out. So
yeah, and if you make sure you're running as fast a speed as you can and successfully cut through it, because if you're going too slow, you're just gonna make that scorching on the underside more predominant than if you're going just fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I'm doing a lot of my testing, you'll notice when it's doing the lower speeds, you'll see it on the backside. You'll get a little flashback every now and then. But once you get it right, like I said, but having the clean work surface, it definitely helps.
Yep. Sounds like LTZ bought one of the VTO Man power stations I was showing last week. And yeah, I've been using mine for a year and a half, and it's done well for me. I enjoy it, so hopefully yours does well for you as well. So I do plan on a couple more pointed videos at that. I've mentioned it a couple times. I did a quick short when I was down at Clax as well, showing the mobile setup running on it. But I wanted to do a little more full-on testing of that and give people a better overview of how it works and what you can expect out of it. So glad it's working for you so far.
Yeah, you still got your little portable setup sitting over there behind you.
Uh,
Just
it's
toting it around everywhere you go.
it's actually sitting there
Mm-hmm.
underneath that thing. I had to shuffle the things that are sitting on the Onefinity when I came home. I'm trying to get it cleared off again, but now that I have that on that board, I gotta make a better home for it out here.
Sharon, what? I'm not sure what Sharon's talking about. I may have missed a comment somewhere. She's wanting to know if the Atom Stack will work with the Acer. I
If
don't
you're
know if she's
talking
talking
about the
about a honeycomb.
rotary, if you're talking about the rotary, yes, because Acer has its. I mean, I could actually show you the Acer version versus the Atom Stack rotary. They are practically identical.
They're twins, just not identical twins. Because the Acer and the Atom Stack, like I said, there's very minimal difference between the machines. Even the steps per rotation and everything's the same. But
Mhm.
man, this leg, I got a knot right there where those things got me. They just kept going back to that spot. Just sitting here rubbing it, trying to make it quit hurting. But uh, but yeah, I prefer the Atom Stack chucks currently over any other chuck I've tested or tried. The RA2 is not a bad one, but it has its limitations as far as the size of the objects that you can use. Uh, so that's and the one that comes with the MK2, not bad. It's a good chuck, but there again, it is the capacity of it is limited. So Atom Stack is a lot more robust.
Well, Sculpt Fun is coming out with their RA Pro Max rotary that looks like they took a lot of notes from the Atom Stack and other versions. So I'm uh, I'm looking forward to seeing more about that one. I've been told there may be one coming my way, so
Well,
we'll check that out and do some comparisons if it does show up.
NWMI is asking about the Rolly more powerful module. Whew. And from listening to the Q talk the other day, I'm going to say yes, there is going to be a more powerful module. Now, I don't think he ever nailed down the actual output, but I think there is going to be a more powerful one coming along here shortly.
Yeah, from what I understand, and they don't rush things out if they do some work on it. So what I understand, their push right now is on their I don't, is it the XL or I forget or WX? I don't know. There's their extended laser that's going to be wider. That is coming out this year yet, but their new module and isn't that coming with the MK3 and that's
I think
most
so.
likely not going to be available till maybe New Year. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be end of the year or maybe into the new year when that's available. So,
Oh, speaking of which, what's that over your shoulder, Steve?
oh, that's your head right there.
No, the other
Yeah.
shoulder.
The what that right there?
The other shoulder.
Oh, this? I can't
No,
point that way. That I
that,
don't know.
yeah.
That's just something.
After somebody was whining about having to drive 1,100 miles to try one out, now he's got his own MK2. I guess you got the MK2, didn't you? You didn't get like a prototype MK3, did you?
Yeah, no. Yeah, that showed up yesterday. So, yeah, I guess I can't make comments about not being able to speak to it because I don't have one. Um, so, yeah, after getting to play with yours down there and getting a chance to talk with Leo a little bit, worked out so I can be doing some content with that. So look for more of that on the channel soon. Just kind of getting it unboxed. I'd say assembled, but you kind of just it's more work getting it out of the box than it is getting it hooked up.
Yeah. The
So
only trippy part is you got to remember to take that bar off
I got the
because
bar off. Yep.
I didn't take
Yep.
mine off, and everybody was like, "Take the bar off."
Yeah. Well, I mean, it comes. They've got it locked in place with screws, both the lid and the gantry, as well as a lot of foam packed in there and such. So it doesn't seem like you should be removing those screws at first. I mean, it's so well machined and
I was
mounted
going
in
to say,
there.
it looks nice. It doesn't look like
Yeah.
a shipping only, connector.
Yeah.
You
So
would expect it to be like some 3D printed plastic piece or something, but it's like this is a really nice piece just to end up in a drawer somewhere.
mhm. So yeah, no, that'll be good to do some work with. Get some I'll be able to support people with their questions and such on it as well. So looking forward to working with that here.
Yeah. But I think you're going to find it interesting too, the fact that you can change the frequency on that machine for stainless with the 1000 versus the 5000.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And it engraves really nice. So I look forward to seeing what you think about it. Because I know you were giving me a hard time like for months leading up to your trip down here. But now you have one, sir. Now you have one.
Yes, I do. Let's see. Chris is asking the physical bench space for the IKEA 3570 machine takes up. So trying to remember in my video of the Atom Stack A70, which is going to be fairly close to it. I want to say front to back, it was right around 32 inches. If you leave the little offline controller screen on it, and then I think side to side it was like 28. So my figuring is I'm going to go about 34 to 35 front to back, and then about 30 wide to give me a little wiggle room on that one. So
It's just shy of 32 front to back.
yeah.
Like it's probably close to 31 because I do have a little bit of a gap in the back.
Well, now is that with or without the offline controller? Because I had that in mind as well.
No, I didn't put the.
Yeah.
I can fit the controller in there, but you're not gonna be able to touch the buttons.
Yeah,
Because the
yeah,
way
no.
mine's built. And then from side to side, this machine from side to side, without minus cable management area and all that, because the cable management is pretty decent. You're looking at a little over 27 wide.
Well, now if you
Almost-
go off
probably
the
about
gantry,
28, probably about 28 if you count the gantry buffers there.
you're going to want it wider than 28 because the gantries actually sits out about a 1/4 inch on each side. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, you're going to want it over 28 wide. That's where I'm
Yeah.
kind of going, given about 30 inches wide gives you a little bit.
I'm thinking 32 by 32 would be about the small as you could possibly go if you don't use the offline controller. Unless you just plug it in and connect it somewhere else, which is what
Yeah.
I was doing. Like I had mine when I had the offline controller on there. I actually attached mine right here to this little piece of metal. It'll stick right there. Matter of fact, here it is. So you can actually set this controller right there and just snap it to that piece of metal. But you have to make sure that it's behind it right there so it doesn't hit the module when the module comes forward. But I haven't been using it. I'm not really an offline controller kind of guy.
Yeah.
So it stays over here in the drawer. Talking about we're talking about Acer versus Atom Stack. There's a Acer offline controller, Atom Stack offline controller, like all the way down to the little the little divots. It's the same. There's another Acer offline controller.
You're just collecting those.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, here's two Atom Stacks. These are the old Atom Stack controllers. I got a couple.
Yeah.
Oh, I got too much junk in this drawer.
Dale, if you're talking about the bar we were talking about on the Lasermatic,
Yeah.
there is this really nicely machined. I mean, it is really nicely machined. It has these really nice ends on it, and this sits kind of in the middle front of the laser, and it doesn't look like you should remove it. I mean, it is just it's rounded over edges and everything. But this is supposed to come out, and it gets stuff out of your way. So yeah, there's a couple screws you take out from the outside, and then it works pretty well.
Yeah, because it attaches like right here in the front. Matter of fact, I don't know where mine's at. Yeah, here it is. When you get the machine, this will be sitting like right in here, like that. And it looks like it's supposed to be there for extra support or something, but it's actually, in actuality, this is supposed to come out. I left mine in there, and people were commenting in the live that it needed to go, and then finally I went back, looked at the book, and I was like, you know what? Sure enough, that's not supposed to stay in there. So, yeah. Lakeside 4 F3 panels for the Max is a great idea. Yeah, I like having steel underneath the machines because I do, like I said, I use a lot of magnet jigs and stuff like that too. So I really don't like the aluminum stuff under there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have to agree on that.
Yeah, as long as those panels work okay, as long as you don't have to move them around too much. That's what I found, is if you could lock it down in place. Because the more I moved it, it just felt like, because you assemble it piece by piece, the more movement on those, it would cause it to have some problems. But they're nice panels, as long as you don't need to really work with any sort of jigs and such, I guess. But
ET, the F1, which is that little guy right there, and you have another similar machine that you have, Steve.
No, not with IR though. The F1 is probably the most compact one.
The LP.
That's just a blue diode though. That's not an
it?
IR laser.
Well,
The laser packer 4.
One. They
The
make
laser
one.
packer 4. The 3 is a pure. I think the pure IR, and then the 4 is the dual, if I remember right. So there are options there. You can get IR modules for some. I don't know that there's one that small though. So really, yeah, the F1 being a Galvo style versus a Gantry style is so much better in my mind when doing the IR stuff. So right now, that is my kind of preferred go-to. There are other ones that are out there that are dual, like the Laser Packer 4. There's Atom Stack is coming out with one as well. They just announced it's a dual laser in that Galvo style. Those really are nice. What I like about the xTool one is the sliding shroud. It really encloses it very well. So
yeah, SkullFun makes a module, but it's saying that it's for the S9, S10, and S30. It doesn't mention like the cube or anything. Now, not saying that you couldn't make it work, but it would, at that point, it would be so Frankenstein. I would probably just say go ahead and maybe try to get one of either the laser packers or the F1, whichever you choose. I'm digging the F1. I haven't ran it in Lightburn as much as I have in XCS, but I did actually set mine up and test it in Lightburn the other day, and it works. For some weird reason, you have to basically set it up like a Galvo, or like a regular GRBL machine instead of a Galvo. But it worked. There was a lot of commands and stuff under the console. I think I prefer using it with XCS, but
yeah, I do. My caveat with running the F1 with Lightburn is it defaults to the blue diode laser every time, and so you have to remember, going to console tab, hit the macro to switch it to IR, even if you're running the same job over and over. You'd have to hit that unless you double click the button and it saves it. So yeah, I'm okay with XCS on the F1. I've actually been playing. I tried, like I mentioned earlier, on that graduation photo frame, I'm trying to work it in both Lightburn and XCS. being a couple of the more popular programs that are out there to kind of show the similarities, because XCS is coming along now. It doesn't have everything. One of the caveats, XCS has the outline, or whereas Lightburn has offset. Well, in Lightburn, I can choose square, rounded, or beveled corners, where XCS always defaults to rounded corners on the offset. So there are some still things like that'll hang up between the two. But I think at a mobile event, using the F1, setting up some jigs like we did when we were there, you got your video and your files on, and running with that. I think you can attest to the fact that sells things. On demand customization sells things pretty quick. So
Dale sitting there looking at his MK2 and went, huh, I forgot to take that off. Yeah, I did the same thing, Dale. I ain't making fun of you. I did the exact same thing. But yeah, that's supposed to be taken off eventually. But it doesn't hurt anything, I don't guess, to leave it on there. It's just in the way.
Bob's asking, is the Nivel Honeycomb aluminum or metal? The one I have is steel. So should work great. And yeah, that's one thing when I'm looking at honeycombs on Amazon or wherever, I'm trying to make sure that it is a steel honeycomb, because it's more durable, it's magnetic, it's gonna, the weight may make it sag a little bit more, but you can usually support that with a couple of spots in the middle, and it's well worth it. So
yeah, Lance, I have the Com Marker Q1, and it is strictly a diode machine, but I also have the Com Marker B4, which is fiber Galvo. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not a real big fan of the Q1 that I got. Now, if it was an IR, it might be better, but it works for what it is, but you can't cut with it at all. It's strictly for engraving. And it's, with it being a 10 watt, it is faster, I guess, than a traditional gantry style machine. But I never really, I used it for a few engraves, and it just never really quite grew on me. I prefer, like the F1 to me seems faster than the Q1 does. And for the price comparison, I mean, the Q1 was kind of pricey from what I remember.
So Burn Carve Print is asking, is there a repeat button to rerun the last job like there is on the S1? I believe on the F1, if you double click that little side button, it's supposed to repeat the last job.
Really
Otherwise,
fast.
they do make, you can purchase either a little standalone button or a foot pedal that you plug into one of the accessory ports on the back of it, and it'll do the same thing. So yeah, there are options for that on the F1 as well.
Yeah. Well, Bob, as far as I know, like I said, the one that I have, because I use magnets over here in Enclosure Zilla, magnets is actually what holds my honeycomb in place on my lift bed. And so that's one reason why mine had to be steel, but that one is metal. And I think me and Steve both have the same honeycomb. I think we got them about the same time. So
yeah,
unless they've changed, they should be metal.
And I believe that one even
Steel.
came with some of those kind of hokey fridge magnets with plastic on them. They
Yeah,
don't
the
work as well
plastic-coated
as they don't work as well as the rare earth magnets. Now, I think it was the Geekbee one that I got. Same size, but it has like a black coating on it. That actually came with some really nice rare earth magnets. So it was like they stepped up to that.
Yeah, the B4 for doing metal. Me and Steve both have one of those as well, and I like it. Now, there's better machines out there, but they have better machines equals better price tag. But a 20-watt fiber to me is it allows you to do metal. Now, you're not going to do what the MOPAs and stuff like that'll do, but it is for just marking and etching and engraving. It's pretty nice. Now, challenge coins, I'm wanting to try to do a deep cut on a challenge coin. I haven't done it. I've just kind of marked them and did some light engraving. But you're going to have a limit. It's just like a 20-watt diode versus a 70-watt. I mean, you're going to be limited. But I will say this as far as like business cards and anodized stuff, and I actually did a $1,200 brooch the other day, which was nerve wracking. Uh, Engraved logo on the back of it for girls. She was graduating from college, and her grandmother was basically had this piece made for her, custom made, and she wanted the back of it etched. And about the time I went to frame it up, when she said, "Yeah, I only paid like $1,200 for that," and, and she was sitting here, and my stomach just said, what?" Oh, and but we did it. They were happy. They were pleased. And I got an ulcer, so it all ended well. But it does a really good job of engraving gold if you ever wanted to know, especially 14 karat gold.
So yeah, I've played around with some depth stuff with my B4 20 watt, and in aluminum, it actually was able to make some decent depth. I need to go back and play with brass a little bit more. I know that's kind of your
Yeah.
typical challenge coin kind of thing.
BRB.
But yeah, if you're really wanting to work with metal and have some options, I would be looking at a standalone fiber, that is absolute minimum would be 20 watt. But really, if you're trying to do the depth map stuff, you're going to want to get into like a 50 watt or higher. I haven't made that jump myself, because it's a whole another thing to play around with and learn, and I'd want to make sure that can fit into my workflow and such here. So, but yeah, very cool. Very some options out there that can do some cool stuff with those coins. So
Yeah, I'm like you. If I didn't have enough work already, maybe I'd look at getting a MOPA or something like that. But I've already got more work than I can do, so I don't really need that machine because now I've got to try to come up with work for that machine, and I don't have time to do the work that I've got coming in already. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I would love to have one just to play with, but I don't see me investing in one right now. Until until I had a stable work for it, and like I said, I stay busy enough with the machines that I have. So, there's that.
Um, Brad's asking what's the best way to get the lens out when replacing it. So if you're talking about the cover lens on your typical diodes, that should just unscrew, and so that you can get the kind of the main end cap off. And if that's glued in, you're really going to want to let it soak in acetone for, give it a good soak overnight. That'll help break up some of the adhesive to hopefully where it gets a little gummy and you can push it out. But there you go. Get yourself some of that, or nail polish remover is acetone based if you happen to have some of that. I know David, probably has a lot of that around. But
No, I have this because I have got in this I like it for sticker removal as well.
yeah,
You take the heat gun, you heat it up, pull the sticker off, and then take a little bit of this and go back and get the extra sticky off.
yeah, acetone's a good adhesive remover. So, but you got to let that soak for a little bit. So if you can, get yourself a spare brass end cap, so that you can swap it out and let the other one soak for a bit while you need to.
Yeah, 3D HP's got the same problem I got.
Yes. Yeah, too many hobbies, not enough time. I hear you. It was a pretty nice day today, but I've been fighting allergies a little bit, so I kind of started the day off with a sinus headache, and then I needed to get some workshop time. So I hate missing a day where I can get out and enjoy some model aviation stuff, but that I'm still playing catch up. So
Yeah. There we go. Lance said that also, thanks for the inspiration. Finally made a coaster jig, and wow, the huge difference. They work good on the We Create Vision as well. I turned the camera off and autofocus, set my depth of material, and can. But yeah, with with the We Create, if you index it off of that little bed in there and just bottom left corner every time, now it doesn't hurt. Take you a little painter's tape and, make sure that thing doesn't slide if the machine starts moving a lot. But we create the S1, P2, the MK2, the Atom Stack A24 that me and Steve have, with just minor tweaks to making sure that the honeycombs don't move and stuff. You can have some really good results and make jigs without having to have a fixture to hold the jig in place, just using the indexing it off of the frame of the machine itself. And just like the little F1, you just, those jigs, you just drop that thing down in that little compartment, or you can use the little bracket if you want, and makes things a lot more repeatable.
Yep.
Especially if you're doing a bunch of them. Now, if you're not doing but one, just frame and go. But if you're doing a bunch of them, it's a lot better.
So Tim's asking, when you replace the lens and it has nothing to hold it in but the glue, what do you put back to hold the new lenses in? Well, what I offer with my kits are a couple sizes of high temp O-rings. And so I'll put the lens down in the bottom of the brass end cap, and then I'll put an O-ring on that. And then as you screw it back on, depending on your laser module and such, I have a thinner one and a thicker one. Usually one or the other will act as a gasket there that holds that lens down to the bottom of the lens or the end cap as it tightens down on the module. I mean, you don't want it too tight to where it's going to push and crack, but that works pretty well. I found a couple that seem to work well with a lot of the ones I've tested over the years. I've had a few people with, I forget what modules they were using, but they got my lenses and ended up just 3D printing a spacer. But all it does is just kind of fills that void between the module and the end of the brass and the lens there. You just need to kind of hold it snug. You don't want it moving around, and then that should be fine. So that's what I do. And that way, the next time you go to swap it out, you don't have to unglue it and wait.
Yeah.
You just pop it out, drop the new lens in, put the O-ring back in, and tighten it back up.
Yeah, because that O-ring, it doesn't take a whole lot of pressure for it to kind of compress and kind of grip that lens and hold it still. So to me, I don't know why they don't do that from the factory instead of using the glue, other than the fact that when they're making hundreds of those things, they don't want the lens falling out. And the O-ring, it's not going to really hold it unless it's attached.
Well, and originally they had that inner brass ring that was holding it in. And then they started gluing that brass ring. And I think they were trying to keep it from moving around. And then of course they want to sell you the whole brass ring lens kit as well. So it's primarily they're just trying to hold it in place, but I think they could have used maybe a little less, something a little easier to pop out, but yeah.
Yeah, that possibly may be Sharon from that I was talking about my visit earlier. I think it may be her. And if it is, hello, how are you? Good to meet you. Because surely there's not that many S. Braggs around. Well, Lance, my buddy over at Milk Money Mini Farm, Bill, is using the iCube with my jigs and everything at his shop right now. And he seems to like them. I liked them. I used them on a few little small projects and stuff. But they work really well. So thank you. But that was actually going to be my event machine, the little iCube, until this guy came along. And the IR capabilities of this machine was kind of a no-brainer for events, because the IR module does react differently with the coating on anodized material and gives you more of a white look as opposed to the gray or shiny look that you get from the blue diode. So, but that little machine would make a decent event machine if you had the jigs and stuff set up for it for the items that you do on a regular basis.
So Jeffrey's asking, got a question on organization and dropping small screws. When unscrewing a small Allen screw, for instance, a rotary, how do you keep those small black screws? My 7-year-old eye's keeping track. It depends. So if I'm taking apart something that has a lot of different screws, multiple ones, I'll get myself like one of those mini muffin tins that has just the little cups in it. And then I'll just start putting the first screws in the first little cup and move through that. Otherwise, if it's just a few that I'm, like 6 that are just all the same and I just need to hold on to them, just get myself a little Dixie cup or something and set it there and keep them in there. Outside of that, I also get myself a bunch of little plastic Ziploc bag type things. They're almost more like the beading style. So they're like 2 inches by maybe 3 inches. And I'll write the machine name on there. So like if it's the spare screws and maybe some things I've taken out of the Atom stack, whatever, I'll write that on there and keep them handy that way as well. So just kind of depends on the situation. If I'm taking them out, I'm going to put them back in real quick, or if I'm taking a lot of them apart and I need to keep them in order, I'll use one of those few things. What you're running to get.
Well, there's 2 recommendations for you if you're putting machines together a lot, or if you're like that, because these fingers don't grip those little tiny screws real well either. First thing is go get yourself a little cheap magnetizer for your Allen wrenches or for your screws. And the way that works basically is you just push the tool in there and then like scrape it across it a few times, and it'll magnetize your wrenches so you don't drop them as much, which is handy. That helps. But secondly, you can also get yourself some of these little rare earth magnets. These particular ones have screws that come with them, and they have a hole in the middle. And you can get yourself just a little piece of scrap wood like that long, and put you 4 or 5 of these guys down through there, screw them to the board. And you can even, if you want to be fancy, engrave like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you just stick the screws to the magnet, and that way they're there, and this is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. That's kind of another cheat. But these are, like I said, these are little tiny rare earth magnets, and they have a screw hole in them, and they come with screws. If you don't have the ones that have the screw holes, you can just use a hot glue gun. But yeah.
So
what you got? You got a fancy magnetic tray, don't you?
Well, I was going to say, Mark brought up a good point. They make these bowls. They make these bowls with, it's basically got a magnet on the bottom. You can actually stick this on the side of a tool cart. But it basically holds most things in there unless you have too much. But these work okay if you're just trying to collect a large bundle of them. You don't have to keep them in order, but any sort of container like this is handy just to kind of keep them out of the way from rolling off or getting lost.
Yeah.
I think, I'm trying to remember, I don't know if this was from Harbor Freight or some other place. Yep, it says Pittsburgh Automotive. So this one was from Harbor Freight. It's obvious. It's probably why it's not as magnetic as it needs to be. But
yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Dale. I was wondering if he got pulled over on his way home from buying those baggies, because that would definitely be be suspicious.
no, they sell them in craft stores for. All right, hold on.
That's
See,
it. That's it. You're a crafter.
see,
Mm-hmm.
see.
Yep.
Just happens to be
Here
from my
you
former life,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like I stick random things of white powder in there.
Well, guys, I went ahead and bit the bullet and updated to 1.6, but part of the reason is because I had actually been part of the beta here a while back, to where I got to try out 1.6 before it came out. But yeah, as far as I know, it's yep. There you go. You got your own little customizable bags. You can't engrave those?
It's like a sandwich bag.
But yeah, as far as I know, 1.6 seems to work fine. I went ahead and updated mine, and it didn't seem to break nothing. Oh, yawning, man! I am getting sleepy. It must be all this bee venom coursing through my veins.
Yeah, I think I just restarted Lightburn today, and it popped up nagging me to upgrade. So I haven't done it yet, but I'll give it a shot here soon.
Yeah, 1.6 was supposed to have a lot more support for the S1. That was the reason they had sent it out, wanting me to test it, and I tested it a little bit. It worked fine for me, but yeah.
Although I haven't had a whole lot of issue using, what am I on, 1.506 with the S1, with a couple of their macros. So,
Yeah.
but anyway,
Yeah, not bored. I have gotten a little sun the past few days. It's been yard work time here, so it's not gonna do much for keeping my hair brown either. It's gonna make it change colors on me. I did wear my floppy hat today to protect my ears and everything though. But I spent a lot of time circling the yard on my lawnmower.
Jim's asking, has anyone tried the F1 on Romark LaserMax engraving plastic? I was wondering how it would work with the name tags and door tags. I haven't. I have some similar stuff from Great Carve, that two-tone plastic stuff. I should give it a shot on there. Because yeah, that might work out well to cut out blanks on the P2 and then use the F1 to engrave them. So maybe I'll give that a shot. That's a good thing to try out. But I haven't played with it yet.
Yeah, I've got some of that too. I don't remember who made it. I had to look back at my Amazon cart, but it's that dual colored stuff where you got like red and white, blue and white, black and white. That would be cool. Bob's wanting you to put the link to your lenses.
Yeah, I'll grab that real quick.
You said you did determine though that there are some machines that use a different lens, but if it's Atom Stack, longer, xTool, those machines.
Older Atom Stack. So if you've got the
oh, that's right, the A series,
the A series, probably the A40 and the A70 that has that slender air assist, that seems to use a slightly smaller lens. So a key thing to do is to check the existing one. If it's about 12.5 to 14 millimeters, these will work. But if they're like the latest Atom Stack ones, those are, if they're 12 millimeter, they're that exactly. And so these won't work for those yet. But I'm looking to see if I can get some options on that as well. But I will drop.
His H or V35, so they will work.
Oh, okay.
I ran them.
Yep.
I ran them in mine for a year or so.
So I will
Tim
drop
says that they do
there.
work in the S1 as well. So he's verifying that. I thought they would, but I haven't had to change mine out yet.
But yeah, drop the link there and a couple there. So hopefully you can find that. And I do try to get those out pretty quickly. As a matter of fact, I was working on another batch just this afternoon. It was getting low after the vacation.
Yeah, that triangles instead of rectangles thing with speed tests and some of that translation from Lightburn to the S1. There were some other people had told me they had problems with that, but I didn't. But I don't know if that's a firmware problem or what exactly is going on with that. What I've heard is it's a translation from the Lightburn data over to the xTool's native operating system. Somewhere in that language, there's a little bit of a miscommunications. It only does it on cut. I don't think it does it. It doesn't do it on engrave. It just does it on cut. That's what I've heard. But mine, I can't make mine do it, so I can't troubleshoot it because I don't know what's causing it because mine doesn't do it. All right, guys. So if you hadn't, don't forget about Steve's map. He likes updating that map. There are links down below. If you're not a member of our viewers map that we have started, we would love for you to go on there and put a location near you. It doesn't have to be like in your yard or on your house. It could be the post office, the gas station down the road. We don't care. Just so we have a general idea of where you are geographically. And when we look at the map, it's kind of cool. Hopefully in the future, when I get to where I don't have to go to work every day, if I start, traveling, going up to see Steve or something like that, those are things that we could actually use to incorporate the route so that we could maybe stop off and, shake some hands and eat some chicken livers with you on my way up to Steve's. So it's a good resource. It's cool to see where everybody's from and the reach of the lives. And we started that. Has it been a year? It ain't been a year yet, has it? No, it's been about 6 months.
Yeah, it's about good 6 months or so. It was sometime mid last year, before the holidays for sure.
Yeah. So, but we've got lots of folks in there. It's pretty cool to look at too, to where you can go in there and see where, where everybody else is. Steve and I are on the map as well, so it's pretty cool. Oh, and also, if you have missed it, uh, this machine, whenever I get around to putting it together and get the video done, I'm going to be basically donating that to somebody, whoever gets lucky. I've got a form set up on my webpage, which is theclackshack.com. And up at the top right, there's a little button up there you can click to register for the drawing that will be held once I have fulfilled the review video and got all that put out. I'm basically going to take the machine out of the box, assemble it, put it together, adjust it, whatever it needs, get it working, do some projects and testing with it, all that. Then I'm going to disassemble it, put it back in the box, and whoever the lucky winner is, I'm going to take it to the post office and send it to them. So if you want to enter for that and you haven't already, go to you either go to the video that I posted on YouTube about the free laser, or go to my website and just follow the links. And you should get an email once you fill out that form. Sometimes it may take a little while, but just make absolutely sure that you have your email address correct, because there's not the two boxes like there traditionally is. So make sure before you hit the register button, read it again and make sure your email address is correct. I think last time I checked, it was getting the numbers were getting pretty high. Let me look and see how many's on there. I'll let you tell about what you need to tell about right quick for our check.
Well, I was just checking. The first entry we had on the map was actually back mid-December, so we're coming up on we're almost at 6 months doing it, and we have over 400 entries in there. So yeah, love to see more. And I'm just looking at it going, I got to figure out maybe some sort of small meetup here up in up in my neck of the woods or something, and maybe give away a laser, because I don't have a shipping box for it, but I have a couple that could definitely get more use in someone else's hands. So I'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, well, to give you an idea of this giveaway, you remember the Christmas giveaway that we did, where we gave away the gift cards and the couple of Amazon things? There were 403 entries in that giveaway. So far, the ASMR giveaway is at 649 is what it says. Now, some of those are going to be repeat, because there were some people that were having problems with getting their email addresses in there. But there's 443 contacts been added to that list that I'm going to draw from when we get ready to do the giveaway. So that's a lot of people. So apparently, even though this is a 6-watt machine, apparently folks aren't really turning their nose up to it. Which I expected to. You've already got one, and you seem to be pretty happy with it from a 6-watt machine standpoint. So I don't look to see anything disappointing with it. What's your thoughts on it so far?
Yeah, I did. I got that one earlier when they launched it. Put a video out in February, and I was impressed with it. It was pretty. It doesn't have air assist with it. I imagine you could add one if you needed to, but it was still cutting through some 3mm. If you're getting like more of the craft style plywood, it was still cutting through 3mm or 1/8" plywood that way. Did beautifully on if you're doing 1/16 inch like basswood type stuff, and of course engravings it did really well on. Really nice machine, and I think they're actually, I think, running a decent sale on it right now, where it might be even under $300. So
It's right at 200 when I looked at it.
200, yeah. So they if you just want a good little engraving machine that you're not going to spend a lot of money on, it's not bad. So yeah, if you want to check out what it is, I've got my video out there on it. Clack will have his out shortly, and although
Well,
I heard
I put a link to your review in my free laser giveaway,
Oh, nice.
so that if people wanted to go check out what you thought about it, your video is already out there. So yeah, if you go see my free laser video, right below the description, there's a link to Steve's video so you can go see what he thought about it. And we're going to be doing this one as well. I was going to do it today, but grass cutting, bees trying to swarm, and all that got in the way. So hopefully one day this week I'll get it. I'll get it put together and tested and can start getting the video done.
But yeah, I heard you were profiling and weren't going to allow me to enter.
No, you can enter. I can always take it out. And I figure you already got one. You don't want another one. Bob says that Steve, you can ship him your Atom Stack camera if you want. I still use mine. Mine's my overhead camera back there. So
Yeah.
I still use mine. It does a good job for that. Like you can see it sitting right there. I use it for when y'all see me doing assemblies on the table. That's the camera that records it. It does good for that.
Yeah, I actually loaned mine to a friend. I have another one just like it. It's just branded IKEA. Kind of a common theme we're seeing there. And yeah, I want to still use that for once I get a couple things out of the way up here. I got some bikes hanging from the ceiling. It'll make a really good overhead camera as well. But yeah, definitely looking at some of this some of the stuff we get in that we test out but don't have a use for. Gonna see if we can do more things like this that you're gonna be able to box that back up and ship it out. So
yeah, that's the hard part is you got to keep up with the box. You can't, you know what I mean? And so that's going to be the plan with this one. I know that going in, I will keep the box. I'm going to package it just like it is now. There may be some cosmetic modifications made to it. There may or may not be because people are saying that it should be like a Clack Shack custom or whatever. So it may or may not get put on the fiber laser and have things engraved upon the module or the frame somewhere that indicate that it came from the Clack Shack. And there's probably going to be some stickers and maybe a challenge coin or some other stuff, T-shirt, something. There's probably going to be something else put in the box if I can get it in there. But yeah. Well, Brandon, this is the weird thing. I was going to do the assembly live, but some of these companies, and it irritates me sometimes because it's not going to matter one way or the other. Some of these companies are like, oh, when you get the video ready, send us a copy of it and we'll look at it before you publish it. Okay, first of all, if you tell me you don't like the video, I'm just not going to publish it. All right, I'm not going to change it to whatever I'm not going to sing its praises. I'm not going to change my content, and nobody's ever asked me to do that. So, but that just kind of crimped my style because I was going to do it as a live, but if they want me to do that, whatever. So there may be a live, but the review video, I'm just going to go ahead and do it traditional, just to keep them happy. Ashmer has made some really good machines, and I like testing machines for the companies. I like being able to take these machines. Like Steve said, this is a $200 machine. So if you're one of those folks that's kind of thought about doing it but don't want to spend a whole lot of money, this would be one that, yes, you're probably going to outgrow it quickly because it's a 6-watt, but you would have that later for engraving bamboo and doing engraving or whatever. It'd be a good machine for engraving. Now, if you get into it, you're going to be, it's like we say, you're going to buy one laser and then you're going to buy another and you're going to buy, it's kind of a perpetual cycle that there's always going to be that next best thing that comes out. You're going to want to upgrade. But I think this is a good starter machine. Ashmer machines are typically simple. The adjustments and everything from what I can see on it are going to be easy to get to for somebody that's not used to adjusting concentric wheels and stuff like that. So I don't see anything anything that could go wrong with it other than, unless it's just I get a lemon. But Steve's video kind of opened my eyes to the fact that it would be a really good machine for engraving. As I think, didn't you do some of that scratch paper with it or whatever?
Yeah. I think I did. Was it it might have been a lion or a dragon?
Yeah, I was thinking it was the dragon or the lion one, but you did like a really detailed scratch paper thing. And so some of you know that May made it. May's one of my friends. May has lots of ladies that watch her that do paper crafting, and a $200 machine that would be more than capable of cutting card stock. Because a lot of the ladies asked me about, they do scrapbooking and stuff like that, and they want to be able to take the pages and cut shapes in it, put pictures behind it, whatever. This is a machine that if that's what you want a machine for, is to cut heavy cardstock and stuff, it would probably knock that stuff out of the park. So, I don't want to always do the 70s and the 30s and the 40-watt machines. So I just decided with ASMR, like I said, it's a good company. I've dealt with them before. So I figured, what the heck, we try this one out. And since I don't want to keep it in my shop because, I don't use a 6-watt that much, I'll just Robin Hood that thing over to you guys. I'll take their machine and pass it on to somebody that needs it. And I've had several people tell me that they've got older 5-watt machines that they would love to be able to replace. And so that's what I'm hoping for. Nothing against any of you guys that have a bunch of other machines, but I'm hoping the person that gets it is somebody that genuinely needs it, and maybe they're on a limited budget or whatever. That's my hopes. So we'll see how it goes.
Fun stuff.
But yes, Mark is basically a gateway laser. Like I said, you could probably outfit it with an air assist and get a little more oomph out of it. But like Steve said, if you're going to be using it for engraving, you really don't need a air assist necessarily. Because from what I've seen of their machines, typically the lens standoff is good enough that the vapors aren't bad to collect on the lens.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, it has kind of a little acrylic cone on the bottom that it somewhat funnels the air coming down from the thing, so it helps kind of move it along. So yeah, it's a good little laser. I still have it downstairs, for demo purposes and such.
Yeah.
Steve Rossman's asking about updating the firmware on the brand new xTool D1 20-watt Pro. Just got it the other day and afraid to update the firmware on it. Do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? I've updated my xTool lasers over time. I'm not always the fastest to do it, especially the D1. I ran mostly in Lightburn, and so I didn't always, if you're running an XCS, it's probably going to come up and yell at you about it, and you can kind of tell it, ignore it for 5 days, but they're gonna push you on it. There are some times where they're offering, some new features for it. One of the firmware updates was purely to be able to add some functionality with their screen printing tool. Some of them now on the S1 and the P2 are more about getting integrated with Lightburn and such. So there may be reasons, and that's a good reason to read through the kind of the change log to see is it something that affects you. My typical opinion on firmware upgrades with most any electronics is, am I missing out on a feature? Is something broken, or is there like a huge security risk? Those are things I'll consider for. If everything else is working for me and I don't have a risk with it, I'm more likely to leave it alone, and let it live out there for a little bit. Sometimes you see an update and then they're like, oh, here's point B or 1.6.01 or something like that, and that's a small, usually fixing something that broke in the update and such. So the adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it, kind of applies here. If it's working for you and there's nothing you're struggling with or a new feature you're not just dying to try out, then I'd hold off on it until you have to.
Yeah, but if you do it, by all means, do it by USB.
Yes.
Don't do it by wireless, just in case. Lots safer. I've updated a lot of machines, the xTools especially, and I've only had one bad experience. And I don't know if it was just a coincidence that it happened while it was being updated. And I haven't ruled out the possibility that it was a USB problem with my computer, because I was having some USB issues, which I have resolved because I have just added 4 more USB 3 ports to the beast down here. So now I have like a total of 18 USB ports on this computer. I added myself a PCI card that has 4 USB 3s that power through the port. So that was a good upgrade. I took the computer, had my daughter help me set it up on the table because my computer weighs 130 pounds. I set it up on the table, give it a good deep cleaning, and install that PCI card. and I even have one more slot available. So if I need some more USB 3s, I can add them. That's why if you had noticed, my camera had got a little glitchy to where if I moved real fast, sometimes it would mess up. Apparently, all those USBs coming out of that computer was taxing it. But by doing it the way I am now, I'm splitting some of the stuff up. It's spreading the load a little better. Everything's running smoother on my computer. Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to do that out here. Get. Well, I need to get a better tower-based computer so I can add some extra
Yeah.
ports there for all the stuff that I would like to run.
Yeah, I didn't even notice it in this machine until today, but I actually have another graphics card slot. I didn't know that was a thing. Apparently, this one has
Mhm.
two graphic port slots. So I've even thought about buying myself another video card and slamming in it. But I may keep this case even if I build me a new machine because this thing is huge with the RAID built in it and everything. But the card wasn't but like $30, and it added 4 USB 3 ports, and so I may be ordering another one just to have extra. And then I've swapped all my hubs out to powered USB 3 hubs. That's happened. Brad said he still got his A5. That's an oldie but a goodie, and still use it to do a lot of engraving.
Mhm.
And Miss Valerie said that she's watched May May for years. The Cricut will cut thin wood and heavy cardstock, but it's very slow. And that, Miss Valerie, is what I hear from a lot of May May's ladies. I know a couple of them actually do have like D1s, but like I said, I'm thinking, rather than a $200 laser that would cut paper and heavy cardstock would be something that I would think some of them might be interested in. You still got to take into consideration you're going to need an enclosure or whatever, but you know, I would think one of those little tent enclosures and a small honeycomb, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, I actually still have just because I think it's kind of a cool factor to show in the evolution of lasers. I still have the Atom Stack P7, which was the kind of that cantilevered
The tripod.
tripod. Yeah. Uh, and so it's a little 5 watt, no air assist or anything. But yeah, it's kind of fun. I've taken it out to like our model airplane field, and we've got some benches out there for working on your airplanes, and they're just old wood. And so I set it down there and had it engraved the club logo on each one, and some fun stuff like that. But a lot better things out there these days to be able to use for that.
Yeah, I had the Atom Stack P9, S40 P9 or something like that. I gave that one to the STEM program here in town to either use as a laser or take it apart and build something else out of it. Yeah, Chris said he loves his old tower. Well, Chris, mine is massive. It's an old forensic machine that I had at work that basically EOL'd on me. And so it was no longer suitable to do what it was doing. And so the Secret Service decided that rather than me turning the machine back in when I got off of the task force, they decided it just wasn't worth, bringing it back in. So they declared it surplus and awarded it to me. And so I went and cleaned it and wiped it. It had Windows 7 on it. I added Windows 10 to it, and that's what I'm using out here in the shack. I just need to make me a dust-proof enclosure for it because it was nasty when I cleaned it out yesterday. But it's actually working really well now. I think I'm going to add me another video card to it and try to limp on with this thing. I was going to replace it, but the performance I'm getting now with the new USBs, I don't know that I want to.
Yeah, dust in a wood shop and computers, it's hard to deal with.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I need to CNC or 3D print me some brackets to put little filters all around it. No, Brian, I don't use bleach on a computer. That doesn't do a whole lot. Oxidize it really fast, maybe. Dun, dun, dun. Can I ask you a question? Have you guys used the Laser Tree 80 watt? I got a refurbished Otura LM2 Pro S2, upgraded the laser to LT80 to basically only cut. Have you had any issues if have owned? I haven't had a Laser Tree. Have you?
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
No, and I guess my curiosity on that, is it a true 80-watt module or is it
Laser.
weird branding? I see they have. Oh, they have a 60, 40, 20. Apparently, it's switchable between all three. I'm not seeing the 80 on here. But you didn't you have, was it a laser tree one that you put on the LM3, like their 20 watt or something like that, or what did you have? Or is the Comgrow one?
No, it was a Comgrow 20
It's
watt, which
Comgrow.
looks a
Okay.
lot like that module, to
Okay.
be honest with you. The little focusing foot and everything looks, and the mounting brackets. I'm thinking that the Laser Tree may be a reincarnation of the Comgrow module.
Possibly. Let's see. Vince is saying the laser tree 80 watt is a 10 watt optical. He has one.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I don't have experience with the laser tree modules.
See, looks a lot like that, doesn't it?
It kind of does.
That's a Comgrow 20 watt module. This is the one that I have considered putting on a CNC over there. Just don't know if I want to fool with it or not. But see, like even the mounting hardware in here looks like that Laser Tree one.
Okay.
So, but yeah. But see, this comes with its own little power pendant and everything. To where you can just hook it to whatever machine. But I don't know that I want to risk it. My luck, I'd burn up my.
Yeah, I mean, I personally tend to stick with the modules from the manufacturer. But there are plenty of aftermarket ones that you can add, say, to a CNC machine or upgrade other lasers with. But you know, there you get you generally you have you'll get like an extra board or an extra power supply and such to add with it, and so
Yeah, then you got like little adapters that go to the PMW wire and everything.
yeah. So I mean, it can add a little bit of complexity, but the nice thing there is that you know, if you've got the right driver board for it separate from it, it's less likely that you're going to burn out your stock board. You know, because I've had people in the past ask, "Hey, I've got a 10 watt sculpt fund. Can I upgrade to the 30 watt or so?" And even on or tours, you know, LM3, they required a separate board to upgrade that because the stock board couldn't handle the current draw and such. So there are some advantages to going with an aftermarket one that's going to have the separate board kind of included, and then your old board is just, you know, the control motion stuff. So, but now I can't speak to, you know, reliability of it or anything like that. Oof. 1220 millimeter rails. That'll make a pretty big work area.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be a big one.
Here's a question of the hour.
You're gonna have to wait till I get something better as far as the CO2 class machines. That's for sure. And I don't think I'm gonna be honest with you guys. All of the like the really like nice machines in here, between Klein, my nephew, the engineer student, and now Bill, I don't know that I could get rid of them without having to fight somebody. So because Klein is dying right now for me to upgrade something. He got all excited when the A70 was coming because he thought he was going to get to take the longer B1. But I'm like, dude, it's a 30 watt you've already got the ASMR 30 watt. And he's like, oh yeah, I do, don't I? You've got an Atom Stack 30 watt. So he's hoping that Atom Stack comes out with like a 90 watt, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Now he did tell me he finally got the CNC hooked up and is fixing to start trying to play with that 6050. He has been busy coaching and doing all this other stuff, and he hasn't been. He's been halfway committed to woodworking and lasers and stuff. So he hadn't got around to the CNC yet. He still wants to come down for some more training lessons.
Yeah, it could be a bit of a jump. So, speaking of that, JJ Outdoors asking, what are your preferred hold down methods for CNC work?
It depends.
For me, honestly, unless it's a fairly big job or something I'm going to be doing multiples of, I use the painter's tape and CA hold down method 90% of the time. Just drop something down there, slap the paint on, or the tape on, the CA glue between the two, and that tends to hold down pretty well. If I'm doing it, even with cutting, that seems to have enough force to hold it from the side loads. But if I'm doing something bigger, like I've done some bourbon barrel lids, I'll use I've got some T-track on my bed, and I'll put in I've got some Rockler hold down clamps that kind of grab the edges, and it'll tighten down but stay out of the way. I've also got some 3D printed clamps that go into that T-track, or I've got some 1/4-20 the threaded inserts from the bottom that I can put either cam hold downs that push into the side or the clamp ones down. So, but I'll be honest, 90% of the time it's a one-off thing, and I'm just grabbing the CAA and the painter's tape and CA method.
Yeah, I've got mine's got the of course you can see it right here. Mine's got the tracks throughout. So I found that a lot of like engraving and light cutting and stuff, I'm just using the X facet tape. If it's something that I feel like may really get pressed, I'll use the CA glue and painter's tape option. But I also have a bunch of different clamps that came with the machine, as well as a few things that I've engineered. Now, if I'm doing like a repeat, like if I'm doing, say, I take some of my old stove cover scraps and I'm doing like, one after another, after another, after another, I have a little jig that I made that attaches to the bed so that I can set the 0 on the corner of it, and then I just take the next piece of wood, next piece of wood, next piece of wood. But I also got myself some of those screw-in inserts to do a couple more little jigging options on the work surface. But I haven't had a need for them, to be honest with you. Between the little green clamps that it came with and my little DIY stuff and the tape, I haven't had an opportunity to need anything further. So
there's a lot of ways to do it, and so it kind of depends on your workflow and what you're comfortable with. So
yeah,
if you do any sort of clamps, I strongly recommend making sure they're low profile and something that you can recreate yourself, because you will cut through them. It's only a matter of time.
see, there's my little piece I made for the corner for jigging, like when I'm doing jigging out pieces of material, and basically I got some screws that go through here and have the little locking nuts under the bottom, and that gets it down to where, like if I'm doing 3/4 material, this is only 1/2 inch material, and the screw head will actually be below that 1/2 inch. So these work pretty well, and like I said, it's just little 1/4 inch screws is all you gotta have. But I gotta make a jig for everything.
Yeah, Chris, I hear you on the different double-sided tapes. I've got some of that X-Fast and stuff, and man, it's kind of sticky. It's sometimes hard to get off if you have a pretty smooth surface on both sides. I've actually found some lighter duty carpet tape is a little less sticky, a little less gummy. So if you're doing through cuts, that tends to gum them up a little bit less, and it seems a little bit easier to hold down. But it's not like the heavy duty carpet tape. It seems to be more of a kind of a temporary thing. So, but like I say, the painter's tape and CA glue that seems to be the nice balance for me.
I did learn something the other day though, Steve. If am using the X fasten to hold material down instead of using a compression bit when I got the X fasten tape down there to where it might come in contact with the bit, if I just use a standard down cut, it doesn't seem to pick up that tape into the bit. So I've started, I've got a bunch of just traditional speed tool down cut bits as well as some of my Jenny down cut bits. I'll make sure I got one of those in there instead of a compression bit because that compression bit will pick that stuff up and chew on it for a little while. Whereas the down cuts seem to push that sawdust onto it and just kind of just keep it beat away from the bit a little bit better.
Yeah, as long as you have a decent spoil board underneath it, the down cut bits should work okay and not have a lot of tear out underneath. But yeah, it seems random. I mean, I can run through that, some double-sided tape 5 times, and then on the 6th job, just something happened where, it gums it up a little bit more. But yeah. Greg, some people call them noodle boards, stove covers and whatnot. It seems I don't know if it's like, I think it's regional because it's, they're a big thing down there. I've heard other people up here sometimes use it, but there's not a lot of people around my immediate area that really talk or ask about them. But I mean, it could be, half hour away, other people do. So, I don't know. And that's the thing with creating a product. Something can be really hot in your town, and 2 towns over, they don't care about it. I mean, that's what people have found out with like those Halloween or holiday lanterns is some people can't cut them fast enough. They're paying off their machine in a month because they're just so busy with them. And other people are like, yeah, I cut out 20 and I'm giving away 18 of them because they're all sitting here. So,
yeah. Well, hey, just so you know, check this out. Look, there's one right there. All right. Let's see. Scroll on down. There's some more. There's one. There's one. I mean, go on Marketplace in my area, and they're everywhere. And there's all different kinds, all different designs. Oh, that was just plywood. But
I just
yeah.
don't get it because to me that's like piling up wood on my table saw.
Look at that.
And anytime I'd want to use it, now I got to move this thing and put it somewhere. I just don't.
That's
get it.
Marketplace, just in my area.
I don't get it.
So I mean, and then you got, hey, that was really fancy.
Yeah.
That looks like a big CNC project. Looks heavy though.
Greg, my thought exactly. I understand it adds counter space, but then when you got to use your stove, you got to put that thing somewhere. So I don't get it.
Hey, they fit recliners too. So if you want to eat a bowl of cereal in your recliner, you can just set it across the arms of your recliner and use it as a
I'm
table.
not sure I want to set that on my recliner after it's been sitting on my stove for a while.
Oh, man, you got to keep your stove clean, Steve.
Okay, yeah, but
oh man. Hey.
Yeah. See, this is like chicken livers. Everybody else is like, I have no idea what you're talking about, man.
But you saw that. I mean,
I'm just going through all these.
Hey, they sell. That's all I know. That's all I need to know.
You don't have to believe in it or agree with it if it's making you money, right?
That's right. And I sell the stew out of them. It's like my wife says. I hate making them because it's like wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. I mean, I honestly got to where I've made so many of those things. I don't enjoy it. Like I have mastered it to the point to where I think I can make them in my sleep. Like I've got every machine in my shop set up to where it's literally take a 1x4, chop, 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 take them over, sand them, round the edges, round the corners, set them in a pile. Then I get the main boards, mark 2 cuts, rip them off with my skill saw and my little guide, throw them over to the side, hit them with some sandpaper in the laser, and then like I've gotten so picky now. I was using silver lathe screws, but I didn't like the way they looked once I stained them when you flipped them over because they still had that like almost chrome finish. But check this out. That's right. I got black lathe screws now.
Mm.
So no more shiny screws. Now they're going to be black, which is going to match the handles. And I found those on Amazon for like $7 for 100, and that's cheaper than I was buying the silver ones at Lowe's. So
Yeah, I agree with these others who, my luck, that someone would turn on the stove or the oven, and next thing I know, I got nice kindling burning on my stove. But
hey,
um, yeah, Lance, I do have Menards here in town, and it's a funny thing. Driving back from down south, get into kind of mid Missouri, and you start seeing things that remind me of home because we're getting towards like the Casey's gas stations, and we're getting towards the Menards showing up. Get into Iowa, you're even seeing Quick Trips and such. So yeah, we do have one here. Honestly, I haven't found a lot there that's consistently great for laser wood. There are a couple sheets that I want to try out. It's got more of an MDF core, and then I think like a birch veneer on it. And I've had some similar stuff from Home Depot that worked really well. That was like that. So I need to find some more. I've looked there every so often to see what I think might work well, and want to do a video on that of like, hey, what is available at Menards that's good for laser cutting. But
yeah.
I brought home a sheet of, I think they call it tiger ply. It was 1/4 inch stuff, and it's got that nylon braiding through it in random spots. And so while 90% of it cuts pretty well, you hit that spot and then you just have this charred area that doesn't cut through. So I don't recommend that.
Yeah.
Even though it's really nice face, the face veneers on it are actually pretty nice. And in general, it cut okay. It cuts all right on the P2 with the CO2 beam, but the diodes struggle with it. So, but if I do find something, I'll definitely, I'll bring it up here, or hopefully do some sort of video on it.
Mark said he found some of those in Arizona. He said not a ton of them, but there's some.
Mm.
But this is right here. Let me show you this. All right, this like right there. Yep, that's clack shack, clack shack, clack shack, clack shack, clack shack, clack shack. Like I make a bunch of these things, guys. Oh, and I make those too, also. But yeah, it's like every place they sell, they get one. So it's kind of it's profitable. What can I say? I don't like. Like I said, I'm not enjoying making them anymore. But like my wife said, the only part of making stove covers that I enjoy is when I deposit the check, and that is true.
Hmm.
Because I've done so many of them. I've been doing those since before I had a YouTube channel. So for like 3 years, I need to go back and count and see how many of them I've built. And then there was a couple of them where I got a bad batch of lumber from Home Depot that I got to rebuild. That was real fun.
Well, a little hello to Tranquil Mentor, who's out camping in Tennessee. Just stopping by to say hello. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting out and doing some camping this year. I
You've
know.
already did some camping.
Well, yeah, but I mean, actual like camping. We have like 60 some odd state parks here in Minnesota, and there's something that I used to travel around with my dad, and we'd go camping like every other weekend, and I really enjoy that. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that with hopefully some decent weather this year. But yeah, question here on RC modeler question: light ply, balsa sheets, or sticks? Length 36 and 48 inches. Where do you get your wood supplies from? I get it from a few different places because it kind of depends on who has what in stock at the time. As balsa has kind of come and gone in being available or not over the years. But so Balsa USA is one of the places I've gotten it from in the past. They tend to have a pretty good quality of it. Another place I've tried out recently is they're newer. They're called balsadepot.com. They are trying to, it's a this is one of those companies built by a modeler, trying to get prices down for people. So that's definitely another place that I've dealt with and gotten both light ply and balsa from as well. So that's one to check. They're kind of ramping up. So I think right now they're doing more of sheets, but they're looking at getting tooled up to be able to offer different stick and possibly some formed balsa in the future. I used to get it at SIG. They're kind of going through a transition. I don't know how much they're going to continue to have. And then National Balsa, if you're out on the East Coast, is another good source of them.
Cool. I know nothing about balsa. Burn Carve Print says, if I cut a real leather patch, is there some sort of permanent double-sided tape for putting it onto a hat? I use the leather glue adhesive. I forgot the name of it. I've got a video on it. If you'll just do leather search on my channel, you'll find the adhesive. It's made strictly for leather, and it does a really good job. Just don't put too much on it, because when you do and you press it, it'll actually like bleed through the inside of the hat. But you can let that stuff sit and start getting a little pasty before you put it on there. And then once you put it on there and give some pressure to it, it's not coming off. Because I've had a couple of them where I put them on and I realized that I had them like rotated just a little too far one way or the other, and tried to pull them off like 5 minutes later, and they wouldn't come off. So it's really good adhesive. I don't forget what it's called.
The stuff I have is what is it? Phoebe's leathercraft cement.
Yeah, that's it. That's the same stuff I use.
I'll drop a link here. Yeah, it works pretty well, but yeah, you got to be careful to not use too much and get it leaking out on the sides. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, congrats. Says Lance said he's running his first order of 12 tumblers for a new cafe. Tumblers helped me pay for my very first machine. Like, I did a bunch of them. I still do a few, but I've got to where I outsource that to Klein, and so I don't do as many. I did help him on a like 30-something order here a while back because he was having some difficulties. But I try not to take on too many of those big jobs like that because I'm too busy playing with all my other hobbies. But Tranquil, glad you are here tonight. Glad everybody showed up. It's pretty cool. Chris said they got state parks bigger than Minnesota.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, but yeah, no, Minnesota has a really nice state park system.
We actually have some big state parks here. There's probably, I mean, out in Texas and Arizona, there's probably some that's pretty big.
Well, I mean, national parks are
Grand Canyon Park out there.
Yeah,
it's pretty big.
But yeah, no, I appreciate the Minnesota State Park system. You know, it's well supported. They're not expensive to get to, or to at least go to and such. And they offer some pretty nice campgrounds. As a matter of fact, over COVID, we took a vacation into one, and my son was able to take his online driver's ed class at the picnic table by the campfire. Well, we were up camping because I was able to hotspot out there and get him enough for that.
Miss Sharon, when you're looking at the honeycomb, basically the ridge around the honeycomb is the work area. Like you can even use the frame around it as a reference to where the laser can and can't cut. So it's like basically built for the machine. It's exactly the right size. So that's what makes it easy to jig stuff out with it. And I'm sure Steve will have a video on that here pretty soon. Good enclosure for the X20 Pro. Ain't that the same size as the X30? Just different module?
You know Adam Stack with their X's and their A's and their everything.
I'm wanting to say it is. I'm wanting to say the X20 and the A20 and the A30 and the X30 were all the same. like a 450 or 430 by 430 or something like that.
Well, there's
In my opinion, the best enclosure is one you build yourself, but
yeah.
there's some decent tent enclosures out there. Uh,
Yeah, I was gonna say if it's that typical frame, anything that's gonna fit like your 400 by 400 should be okay with those. Though the Atom stack weren't overly long, you know, like the Aether and IKEA and some of those were more like they went deeper. Um, but most of the Atom stacks would fit into like about a 24-inch square enclosure without any issue. So, you know, yeah, there's some inexpensive tent enclosures for that. If you want a really nice acrylic one, Great Carve has an acrylic one with a fan built into it. I did a review on that. But that one is one where it'll fit those kind of your xTool D1, some of the Atom Stack ones, but it won't fit the IKEA and the Aether ones. So, but yeah, I agree. Building your own when possible is I feel the way to go.
yeah. Well, Miss Sharon, like I said, all I can tell you is the Honeycomb on my MK2 fits the machine like it's right there where it needs to be. And of course, the machine itself is 410 by 390. So it being 20 millimeters shorter than it is wide would make sense because the work area is 20 minutes shorter than it is wide. Because I'm sitting here looking at the MK2 on my screen, and the work area is 410 wide by 390 high. So that's going to be the interior part of the Honeycomb is going to be 410 by 390 because it, like I said, it basically the interior part of that Honeycomb is the work area, like the frame. If you know what I'm talking about, the frame where the frame goes around is the limit of the work area. So.
See, now everybody's got me looking at Facebook Marketplace on stove covers.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's pretty. $40 to $45 is pretty cheap. I mean, you still can
Yeah.
make a little money off of them, but not much. Like I said,
Uh,
I get, which now, I guess, like I said, it's the market and the demand too. But I get like public sales. I get like 125 for custom built, custom design, engraved logo.
so
And if
most
you,
of these aren't actually in Minnesota. They're in Wisconsin, Iowa. There are a couple in Minnesota. So they're
see,
probably not as popular up here.
yeah,
But yeah, they're going for anywhere from $30, but the average seems to be more like 60, 50, 60.
and I'll be honest with you, at $50, you're not getting a lot off of them though. By the time you figure
Well,
your time.
these are without an engraving.
Oh.
One with engraving is 75, but yeah, I don't know. Again, that just goes to show you the market and what people are doing in your area can make something quickly not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right, well, guys, it is 9:09, which means we have reached our 2 hour threshold, and we have found studies show that if y'all watch us longer than 2 hours, y'all quit asking questions and we start falling asleep. So, uh, I guess we're gonna have to call it for tonight. If you got any last minute questions, anything we overlooked, guys, just drop it down there real quick. We don't want to leave anybody out as far as questions, especially if it's something that you need to get back up and going. But we definitely don't want to hang around all night either. Uh,
So there you go. There's a Comgrow has a good tent enclosure that will fit the X20, and yeah, I've got their bigger one. I haven't used it in the past few months, but that's
Yeah.
she's right on that. The clear window on there won't give you any eye protection.
Yeah, I mean,
So
we both got that high that big tall one that you could stand in. We got that
yeah,
one,
maybe you
and
could.
the what was it? The orange? It was it? No, it was yellow. It was like had chartreuse accents or whatever. I've had 3 or 4. I've had probably 6 or 7 different tent
Yeah.
enclosures, but I like building my own. What's up,
Yep.
Rich? Rich
Hey,
in the
Rich.
house.
Yep.
But I bet Rich knows what a stove cover is down there where he's at. He's in Louisiana. That guy throws down there. But
Perhaps.
but yeah, yeah, Brian, it did fly by. And not so many wisecracks out of you tonight. I'm a little shocked. I even spent extra time after I put my USB hub making sure I had the Brian drum roll back working. I got everything working. I can actually hear it in my headset now since I got the USB ports and all installed.
Yeah, except for we didn't hear it.
And I didn't get to put it in there. You didn't hear it? What?
No.
Wait a minute. Stand by.
Yeah, Brandy, we have potlucks up here, but they're casseroles that are going into like crock pots and such. So I mean,
I'm not seeing why you're not hearing it.
I don't know. You just all your stuff's broken. So
For some reason, it isn't coming out of there. Golly, I can hear it, but y'all can't. That's just terrible. So I'll have to work on that. I'll fire up a recording tomorrow and test it, but yeah, it's probably because I changed my audio setup.
so Greg's question is, what's going to be your next videos?
Well, this thing, because I got to get that done. Because if I don't, there'll be riots in the streets. People want their laser. So I'm going to get that done. Hopefully, I've got a couple projects I want to do. I've heard that the new VCarve Pro, I've heard they've got a little bit of an upgrade to the box maker app inside VCarve. And since I built my table over here, I need a box to put some little small tools and stuff in. And I've got a little space set aside for it. So I'm going to try to do me a CNC box, like with the finger joints like we do with lasers. And like a half-inch material. And make me kind of more or less like a box, but it's kind of like a drawer because I can take it in and out, so forth. Probably going to do that. And maybe a Mother's Day theme, something or another, because I haven't made my wife anything for Mother's Day yet, and I don't know what she wants or anything, but she keeps talking about this thing that she kept mentioning today that I need to make. So I may try to do that, but we'll see. Oh, and she's listening.
So
Surprise.
I teased this earlier, but I've got this graduation picture frame that's going to be coming out. So that'll be hopefully either tomorrow evening or Tuesday. I'll get that one out for everybody. Yeah, and then of course, as we teased earlier, we've got the Lasermatic finally in the shop, so we're gonna be doing some work with that. And then yeah, I'm wanting to get through some of my project lists of things. So it'll be nice to be able to play some with that one on some various projects and such. But yeah, we'll see. Sometimes it's just the inspiration hits on a project that someone asks me to do, and that becomes the video for the week. But and Brandy, our salads are often Jello based, so they sometimes hold their own. Unfortunately, we proved that that's not true to life scale because it should be about a foot higher.
Oh no, it's a big head now. I tried to keep it to scale. It's like a ape head.
Yeah, but you must have chopped me off at the knees because it's too short. There you go. Now, yeah.
No, it's about right there. That's about where that's about it. It's Steve on a stick, guys. I think Steve on a stick needs to help with the assembly.
All right.
Of my machine over here. Well, I got it out of one of his videos where he didn't wear a hat. So I just screen capped one of his videos I was watching.
That must have been shortly after your haircut then.
Yeah, probably. But anyway, guys, enjoyed it, appreciate it, and like I said, thanks for this. Rich celebrity dropped in to see us, and I appreciate you stopping by there, Rich, and then Wild Willow. Yeah, Wild Willow. Make sure I don't get that wrong. But go check out the content. I know when I was first getting into CNCs, Rich kind of helped me through several oopses when trying to get my xTool up and going with Lightburn and trying to learn Lightburn. So he's a good resource for that for sure. And I'm going to try to get Brian's little sounds fixed. I didn't realize that they weren't outputting to the system, which makes no sense. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and drop Rich's channel in there just in case someone hasn't heard of him, hasn't seen his videos. Definitely a lot of good project videos, a lot of good Lightburn experience in there. So go check him out as well. We enjoy anytime we get to interact with a lot of our counterparts here on YouTube. So it's great to see them here. We try to check out their content as well.
Oh yeah. Yep. But yeah, go check it out if you want to see how my hand got to be so swollen. There's a video on that. So I'm gonna put some ice on this. It's starting to be a little heat in it.
You take a little Benadryl or something with that.
Yeah. Chris, I guess it is possible that nobody has, but if they're on YouTube and they're looking for laser stuff, you're going to run across Rich. It's kind of a given, but you never know. But until next time, guys, y'all be safe and have a good night. See you next Sunday.
We'll catch y'all later.